very much.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our March 26th Board of Education meeting. May I ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag, to the republic, which is a nation, visible, liberty, and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'd like to start with our approval of the agenda. May I get a motion, please? Jim, second Katie. Any discussion or questions? Vote. All in favor? 6-0. Next up, Superintendent's report. Mr. Poole.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan, and good evening, everyone. I'm going to turn over the first part of my report to our ex officio student trustees.
So, prom will be held April 3rd. Tickets $5. April 5th. March 20th. Many scholarships are passed last week. Next and adjusted. Which rehearsals that was being on March 5th. Yes, raising scholarships and fundraiser April out for second through.
Thank you. Just a few other events happening around the school district.
Just a
a
few.
couple. I have a shorter list today. At the over at the middle school, 7th and 8th grade music students are taking a field trip to New York City to see Hamilton tomorrow. This is part of the Broadway Imagine program that Mr. Holtz organizes each year. Through this program, our students, Broadway performers, share their personal journeys, showbiz anecdotes, and deliver unforgettable performances. And this Thursday, the DC trip is coming up. So this Thursday, March 28th, Mr. Van is holding a parent meeting regarding the upcoming trip, and parents are invited to 2:30 via Zoom to hear important information about the trip. Over at Wading River, congratulations to our 5th graders. Incredible performance of The Little Mermaid. Special thanks to Mr. Verity and Mrs. Levonic, Mrs. DePaula, the high school tech crew, all the staff, parents, and students that worked together to make this an amazing performance and unforgettable experience for students. Miller Avenue students had a chance to come over and see the show as well last week. At Miller Avenue, over the past 2 weeks, our 2nd grade students took a step back in time and visited the Long Island Museum and one-room schoolhouse. They also had a chance to visit the Staller Center at Stony Brook for the Pops for a kids concert, which gave them an introduction to classical music and instruments. On the agenda tonight, we have a slew of special education vendor contracts. Just want to make a note about those. The Special Education Office completed an RFP process for all of our special education mandated services and the proposed awards. Meeting our students' IEP needs without interruption is our top priority and a legal requirement. Throughout the school year, CSE recommendations continue, and we often need to reach out to multiple agencies to find available providers. So to maintain compliance for all mandated services, we contract with multiple agencies. So if one vendor does not have the service that we need, we can reach out to another vendor that has been approved. Mandated IEP contracted services for the 24-25 school year and every year include the following, and these are all resolutions inside of the agenda this evening: nurses, in-school behavior consultants, occupational therapy, physical therapy, evaluations, extended school day services, parent training, home services, assistive technology, autism services, ABA services, job coaching, translation, transition services, educational services, and tutoring for hospitalized students. So just in short, approving multiple vendors for a single services allows us to get a service on time to meet those IEP needs. Gives flexibility. In any given year, we may not use all of the vendors, but it does provide that flexibility. Additionally, tonight, we have a budget presentation. So tonight is the third in a series of budget development workshops. To make it easy for all SWR families to follow the development of the budget and keep them informed, links to budget presentations have been emailed directly to families after each Board of Education meeting. Prior to our budget meetings, we've had public presentations on student outcomes, curriculum, enrollment, technology needs, and a 5-year capital plan. Those presentations provide a background and depth to key aspects that are inside of the budget, provide information that drove some of those items. They were also shared with families via email after each meeting and can be found on our webpage. I'm proud of the work our district does to proactively keep our families informed of what's happening in the school district. This is a fiscally prudent and responsible draft budget. We continue to have a fiscal stress score of 0, which is the best score you can get from the Comptroller's Office, due to careful budgeting practices, which always include an eye to the future. As a reminder, all financial audits are available under the Business tab on our webpage. A careful look at all the budget categories, and we'll see them again tonight from Mr. Arcuri, shows proposed reductions in expenditure in over half of the categories. This is not impacting our program, but it is the result of continued efforts to implement economies and efficiencies while enhancing our programs, increasing student achievement, and improving our facilities. This is an annual and ongoing effort which has resulted in an average levy increase of just 1.3% over the last 7 years, despite inflationary pressures of up to 4%. About half of the year-to-year budget presented, that increase is related to capital work identified through the Building Condition Survey, also shared publicly last spring and re-reviewed this fall, which is aligned to a transfer to capital from the prior year state aid tax reserve. The capital work is needed. Miller Avenue staff need and are entitled to increased access to bathroom facilities. The electrical work proposed will ensure that all of our buildings continue to be safe and stay open. Our next budget workshop presentation is scheduled for April 2nd. And just a brief update, on February 6th, I shared public information on UPK and UPK programming related to costs and space. I noted that the district would be going out to RFP. I want to share publicly some of those results. The cost to roll over the current lottery offering of 72 seats to service about 55% of eligible UPK families through a lottery with outside off-site vendors. Unfortunately, there is no space at Wading River next year due to increases in special education sections. That cost would be $318,000 to provide those 72 seats. The cost of UPK for 54 lottery seats to service about 40% of eligible UPK families would be $115,000. So I can share those RFP results that the district received. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Poole. A lot of great updates there. I do want to thank again our students, Hannah and Megan, for their updates. think it was great that you called out the curriculum and instruction resolutions tonight, so we know what we're looking at, and then as well on the budget, the prudence that the administration has taken and continues to provide. So thank you for that, Jerry. Any opportunity for board members? The only thing I'll just echo, we had a legislative update with Miss Jody Giglio. It was a great forum, great session. I was glad she attended. She's advocating for many of the priorities that the legislative committee came up with. We gave an overview. Katie and myself both presented one of the three, or excuse me, two of the three really pillars of our approach, and they were well received, and you could see how passionate she's been on advocating on behalf of our schools and really to restore the foundation aid. We spoke to her about the UPK situation for our district specifically, and more in general, her command and knowledge of the issues was tremendous. So I was glad to see that she's advocating again on behalf of our schools and specifically for our district. It echoed what we did with Mr. Palumbo's office as well, so just wanted to give that update. And again, a shout out on the play from the 5th grade was terrific. I had the opportunity to witness it firsthand, so for Little Mermaid fans, it was terrific. So thanks again for that. Thanks for all the efforts that people put in for that. Anyone else want to share anything? Okay, continuing forward. Any statements from residents? Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Okay, we're going to move to our reports and reviews. First up will be Mr. Arcuri with our 2024-2025 budget presentation. Mr. Arcuri. What about it?
Good evening. As Mr. Poole mentioned, this is the third budget development presentation for the 2024-25 budget season. Thank you again for the opportunity. As we continue to build our spending plan for 24-25, it is important to recall that our 7-year average for our tax levy is 1.30%. It's just, again, a testament to know how we have been able to support so many existing programs, add additional programs over the past 7 years without adding additional burden to the taxpayer above what our allowable tax levy limit is. And even in some cases, we have been able to do it without levying to the limit, such as in 2020-21 as well as in 2019-20. The budget expenditure history the last 7 years is 2.24%. So when you're looking at a levy increasing at 1.30 over the last 7 years and the expenditure budget going up 2.24%, there is a 0.94% difference between the two, some of which has been picked up by the increase in state aid, but some has also been picked up by absorbing economies and efficiencies into the operating budget in order to offset recurring expenditure costs. Our 24-25 tax levy limit, we are not looking to go above what our levy limit is. Our levy limit is 2.52%. We are not looking to pierce. We are only looking for a 50% plus one vote in order for the budget to pass. At this time, the building aid that is a component of the levy limit calculation is based on the governor's executive budget. The New York State budget is expected to be adopted on April 1st. That is its due date, but as it stands currently, they are not on track to have a budget in place for April 1st. When we do get the final building aid number, if it is different than what was provided to us in the executive budget on January 16th, the tax levy limit will change. If there's additional building aid, our tax levy limit will go down. If there's less building aid, then our tax levy limit will go up. However, state aid would go down, then our tax levy goes up. If our tax levy goes down, state aid goes up. So it isn't going to change our overall revenue budget. It's only going to change the proportion amount between the tax levy limit as well as the state aid. Proposition 1, that is the only proposition that is on the ballot for May 21st. It's the 24-25 budget. I put this picture here today. Mr. Van at the middle school provided me this picture. They were celebrating Unity Day. I really thought it was a great, great picture. It just kind of captures why the budget is able to provide so many different opportunities. And this just happened to be a picture that like caught me. There were plenty of pictures he had sent me, but this one just looks like a great day at the middle school. The 24-25 budget maintains all programs, maintains current class size, includes a transfer to capital fund budget line, includes the use of prior year state aid. So the transfer to capital fund budget line, that is an expenditure to cover costs that were outlined inside the building condition survey. And we have an offsetting revenue utilizing the prior year state aid in order to cover the cost for that transfer to capital fund line. Includes the additional clubs, includes funding to replace 50 to 60 interactive smart boards. The 50 to 60 smart boards are part of, were included in the district's technology plan that the Director of Technology, Mr. Peter Esposito, provided at the November 28th Board of Education meeting. I put a link at the bottom of the presentation that you're able to find on the district's website to this technology presentation that actually provides that there's over 120 smart boards inside of the district. Our plan is to replace smart boards that are well past their useful life, and by changing these smart boards, we are directly impacting instruction inside the instructional space. Budget also includes reductions of contingent funding, and the budget does not include funding to cover the shortfall in UPK funding that has previously been covered by federal grants. Budget highlights, as I mentioned earlier, there is a number of additional clubs, both at the middle school and the 2 elementary schools. Total cost of these clubs is a little less than $20,000. As I mentioned to you, 120 interactive smart boards across all four buildings. We are looking to replace as many as the funding could get us to. So hopefully between 50 and 60, and then hold that budget line for the 25-26 budget, whereby then we should hopefully be well at our goal to replace the 120 smart boards. Additional high school course offerings, digital literacy, pre-advanced placement world history and geography, writing lab and writing center, and a new elective related to cyber security. A few notable maintenance projects, additional cameras district-wide, outlined in the district's building condition survey, which is a required report by the State Education Department, called out that we should begin to replace outdated cameras. So we did include funding. More than half of our maintenance budget for 24-25 is going towards replacing outdated cameras, as well as adding additional cameras in some of our areas that we currently feel we should have camera coverage in. In addition, funding is there to install a concrete walkway along the middle school track. Funding is also included to add a kindergarten playset at the Miller Avenue building, add additional library furniture at the Wading River building, innovative classroom furniture for the middle school, robotics equipment for the high school, and a new Yamaha upright piano for the high school. 24-25 proposed budget reflects a 4% increase, a little less than $3.4 million. As I mentioned earlier, If we look at the proposed budget, that shows a 4% increase, and then we were to subtract out the transfer to capital fund line, that is being funded by a direct revenue source related to the prior year state aid claim, we would only be at a 2.02% increase, year-to-year increase. So I think it's, again, traditionally, historically, we have put up capital items as separate propositions where they aren't commingled together. For this particular budget, for timing purposes, it was in the best interest to add the capital project into the actual operating budget, so we were able to utilize the prior year state aid before it expired on August of 2024, use it as a revenue source, and then allow us to complete necessary projects. But it does make the year-to-year expenditure increase look higher than the 2.30% average that we had in the past. If we didn't have the transfer of capital in, we'd only be at a 2.02% increase with a 2.52% tax
I
levy.
think this is an important call out.
Any questions on this? I do know that I have gotten a couple of questions the last couple of weeks on it, and I'm trying to find ways to clarify it, both for the folks here, both for the people watching at home, and anyone that goes to the website to look at the presentations. Questions?
And Mr. Carey, so on the previous slide, when we did the transfer to capital fund, which is now covered on this slide, that's the monies that are set aside, which was the prior year state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, double
Correct.
checking.
Okay.
No, I think it's an important call out.
Thank you. On February 27th, we covered the section's employee salaries and employee benefits, which was 71.3% of the budget. On March 12th, we covered transportation, debt and transfers, district-wide expenses, and special education, which was 21.74% of the budget. All the previous presentations can be found on the district's website. And tonight, we're going to discuss facilities, technology, athletics, curriculum, staff development, community programs, health services, and the personnel, which is a little less than 7% of the overall budget. Facilities, we are looking at a 3.48% decrease from the 23-24 budget. Budgeted amounts for utilities have been increased to align with projections, an increase of $54,649. Budgeted amounts for maintenance contracts have been adjusted based on projected rate increases. Funding has been included to allow for the purchase of a new auto lift for the auto shop, additional grounds equipment, extractor and upright vacuums, scissor lift trailer, industrial floor equipment, an additional security vehicle and or vehicles, depending upon the price that we receive. Planned maintenance projects include replacement and installation of additional security cameras at all 4 schools, replace ceiling tiles and lighting in certain areas throughout the high school and Wading River School, add bottle filling stations in place of water fountains at Prodell Middle School, and if funding allows, repair or replace the gymnasium partition door in the high school. From the time the budget was created, we were under the impression that we were able to repair the high school gym partition door. Since that time, that repair would have taken place with 23-24 funding. Since that time, we did find out that repair is no longer a possibility. It is requiring a replacement, so we are beginning to explore replacing with the same type of door, replacing it with a curtain, and we are hopeful that we will experience good fortune in the 24-25 budget, that if we were to go down the route to replace this with the same type of door, there will be funding available, and if that is the case, it would be a project requiring state education department approval, submission to the state, seeking approval, and in order to do so, we need to call out that we did bring it to the public's attention that this is a project that we need to do, and that's why it's part of the budget presentation tonight. Any questions on why the partitions door are part of the budget tonight? And buildings and grounds improvements, irrigation repairs, tree pruning, and asphalt repairs in certain locations.
So, Mr. Curie, on
Yep.
the facilities, so potentially, the partition door would maybe come from the facilities budget, depending on how things operate. Is that what you're kind of sharing? That's why you're sharing it just this way?
I am, somewhere I'm going to get backwards. Here I am. I got there.
Yeah.
Took me a while. Yes, the possibility exists that if I'm unable to address it with 23-24 funding, and it does turn out requiring a state education department project, I do have to call it out inside of a presentation. Category of technology, budget increase of $136,050. A majority of that increase relates to the addition of another lease payment for replacement Chromebooks. That's an important piece. That is a change from the 23-24 spending plan. So the budget maintains all programs and services that are in the current year's budget. Maintenance, support, warranties, all contractual increases. This is for all the network appliances, firewalls, backup and encryption services, database and security services, user licenses, Microsoft multi-factor authentication, GoGuardian including Beacon, lease payments related to the replacement of Chromebooks, computer supplies and materials, increases related to replacement of smart boards with interactive panels, and replacement equipment, servers, security cameras. Technology, everything to support technology continues to increase. Licensing fees, server fees, anything related to cybersecurity. We continue to stay a step in front. That does come at a cost. As you saw, other sections inside the budget have been experiencing year-to-year decreases. I don't foresee that inside the technology budget because we constantly have to continue to stay in front. Because if one piece of it fails, it directly impacts the entire district.
Is our cybersecurity in this number?
The cybersecurity insurance isn't. That's actually part of district-wide expenses. Our cybersecurity oversight from our outside agencies that continuously provides penetration testing is part of this budget. That is a separate contract.
So, Curie, just, I think it might be Mr. Meinzer question. If I recall, so on the Chromebooks, just remind us, they're in like cohorts. Each year we're approving a certain amount, right, and then they roll over and we're doing another amount each year. Is that how it works? So that's what's built in here? That's the lease payment.
So having that lease payment over time, that lease payment's gonna stabilize for, probably a cost somewhere around between $200,000 and $300,000 to maintain the Chromebook program. Probably everybody's aware we've pulled back K through 2, so that
Yep.
one-to-one Chromebook program is going away. Not to say that there's not enough one-to-one devices in the district to support, heaven forbid, remote learning in the future for K through 2.
Not going back.
But the decision was made at a curriculum council, instructional technology, and at the building level that having devices available in the building when they're needed was enough as a hand for most students. So the lease payment sort of levels out the budgeted cost each year as opposed to having a spike. Every 5 years we got to spend this much money on a batch of Chromebooks. We kind of can plan and budget it out over time.
And there's an important component. The BOCES does our leasing program, and that allows that expense to be an aidable expense also. There's another piece to that. So buying them outright, you're really not obtaining the same level of aid that you would be able to receive with this leasing model. So it is a great model, and it is a leveling off of the district's budget.
Agreed.
Athletics program maintains all teams in 23-24. High school, 46 teams. Middle school, 24 teams. There were 371 scholar athletes in 2022-23. We are still in season for 23-24, so I can't give you that number, but Mr. Passamonte is confident again that we are going to either be equal to or greater than the 371. He's also very hopeful that we will again for 23-24 achieve what we did in 22-23, being a NISFA School of Distinction. All varsity teams achieve scholar athlete status. That's a very important thing to note. That is not an easy accomplishment to our students. Not only are they very good on inside the classroom, they're also great on the field too. So it does take a lot of work to do both. The contractual budget has been increased to align with actual expenses. The equipment budget has been increased to allow for the purchase of lacrosse shot clocks that are required for the spring 2025 season. Recurring purchases, replacement helmets, uniforms, athletic supplies and materials, equipment purchases, Section 11 officials and administration fees, and other related expenses necessary to operate the athletic program. And it also allows for the reconditioning and disinfecting of all district-owned equipment. Increase of $53,732. And at this point, we're up to 99.28% of the budget. So we're coming down the home stretch. Curriculum and staff development, ongoing professional development, required annual trainings, conferences, workshops, professional subscriptions and memberships, curriculum development, writers and consultants, curriculum and student program supports such as Naviance, ebook access, and EasyTech, supplies and materials to support curriculum development and implementation, reductions to align closer to actuals. You'll see here, year to year, there's about a $15,000 decrease. This is primarily related to curriculum consultants, curriculum development services from BOCES, as well as some supplies and material codes. Community programs, we continue to see more involvement. We are definitely back to pre-COVID numbers. There are 29 programs being offered. Elementary students to date, 780 registrants. Secondary students, 293 registrants to date. There are 7 programs offered for adult ed, 682 adult ed registrants to date. Summer programs, 140 students participated in the Roundout program. Music Institute, 79 students participated. There's a slight reduction here, primarily relating to aligning the budget to actual expenditures for 23-24. Health services, same services from 23-24 will remain the same. School physician and nursing services, health services for parentally placed students, athletic and annual physicals for students. It's important to point out when the 23-24 budget was being developed, we hadn't gone out to RFP yet for health physical cost. So we had budgeted in 23-24 what we thought the RFP results were going to be. They did come in much lower than what we budgeted, so we were able to reduce the budget for 24-25 by a little less than $24,000, and that decrease is directly related to the lower cost versus what we budgeted for related to health physicals. Reduction in the equipment budget related to one-time equipment purchases, supplies and materials, reductions to align closer to actuals, medical exams, contractual expense related to parentally placed students. Any questions on health services? The last category, personnel, you see a slight reduction here by, again, a little $14,235. This budget provides for online application system, advertising, substitute teacher service, Affordable Care Act consultant, reductions align closer to actuals for BOCES shared services, advertising, and personnel investigations. Looking at the budget, expenditure budget to the revenue budget, as I mentioned earlier, it's a 4% budget, year-to-year comparison. However, without the transfer to capital, I'm at a 2.02% budget. The tax levy is currently reflecting 2.52% increase. That could change once we get the final building aid numbers when the state adopts their budget. State aid is currently showing a 0.27% increase. so sorry. Again, hopefully the state adopts their budget soon, and we are able to have final numbers. Our budget adoption is scheduled for April 16th, so hopefully we do receive the numbers before that. April 2nd, a week from today, we will be presenting the district's revenue budget in detail. Again, if they were on time, April 1st, we would be able to show the actual state aid numbers on April 2nd, so there would have been time between April 2nd's
April 1st,
revenue
April 2nd.
presentation to the
Oh,
budget
that's-
adoption.
yeah.
However, the possibility exists, you might only be seeing final state aid numbers in a public forum at the April 16th meeting. Other local revenue relating to pilot payments, interest. However, the main driver, which you'll see in detail on a week from today, relates to accounting for student fees related to chaperone costs for field trips. So in a recent comptroller's audit of other districts within the state, the auditors had pointed out to us, if the district allows chaperones to go on field trips and the chaperones cover their own costs for the field trip, the district has to budget the chaperone cost, so the budget goes up, and I had presented this at the March 12th meeting. The budget goes up for the chaperone cost, the offset, the revenue is a student fee revenue, so there's no increase to the taxpayer, there's no cost to the taxpayer, there's a change in accounting practice. That's the majority of the $228,000 increase. Again, we will go further in detail at the April 2nd meeting, but that's just a little background on the increase in other local revenue. Appropriated fund balance showing a decrease of $85,054. Tax reduction reserve use increase $1,676,921. Again, that is a revenue that we are applying to the budget to directly offset the transfer to capital expenditure line. Employee retirement system reserve, $1 million, same as last year. Unemployment reserve, $104,000, same as last year. Workers' compensation reserve, $550,000, same as last year. And the debt service fund, there are funds left over of the interest that the district gained when we were doing the bond. And it's time to start to use, we have 8 years left on the bond payment, so we took that fund, divided it by 8, and started to use 1/8 every year as an offsetting revenue to the budget. Any questions on the revenue budget, the expenditure budget? Great. So as I mentioned, April 2nd, we will be presenting the revenue budget. April 16th, it is the budget adoption by the Board of Education. Additional dates, April 17th, I'll be presenting at the Shoreham Civic Association meeting. April 25th, Wading River Civic Association meeting. May 7th, Public Board of Education meeting, the budget hearing. And May 9th at the PTA Council meeting. And the budget vote is May 21st. As I had mentioned, on the district's website, under the section Parent Guardian Resources, you could find past budget presentations, as well as budget presentations from previous years. And in addition, under Departments and Programs, there's a Business Office tab. We have our external audit reports. We have our district reserve balances, internal audit reports. So there's plenty of information on the district website regarding business office events and activities. Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Akiri. Okay, next up, we have our votes and resolutions. May I get a motion for the approval of March 11th, 2024 special public meeting minutes? First, Mike, second, Jim. Any discussion or questions? Vote, favor, 6-0. Next up, approval of our March 12th, 2024 regular public meeting minutes. May I get a motion? First, second, discussion or questions? Megan, on this one, I think you're gonna need to abstain. All in favor? It'll be 5-0, and then Megan abstains. Next up, approval of our CPSE and CSE and 504 meeting summary memo dated March 13th, 2024. May I get a motion? Ma'am, second, discussion or question? All in favor? 0. Mike, you good? That's it. Make sure I can see it. February 2024 Treasurer's Report. May I get a motion? Katie, second Jim. Any discussion or? 6-0. Next up, I have approval of our policies first reading. Stephanie, you want to take it away?
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah. Wait,
What?
I have,
Wi-Fi.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that.
wait,
You don't have Wi-Fi?
but
Yeah, absolutely. Here, you know what? I can't pass.
Actually, I have another copy too. Somebody
Here
want to,
you go. Sorry, guys.
I'll look on my phone.
Yeah. Go ahead.
you're back on,
You good?
back on.
Back on? Okay.
Nope. I
We're going
lied.
old school. We're going hand.
hold
hand- We're going hard. Yeah, no.
Back
it's-
on, no. No, it's
Thanks.
board
I mean,
docs,
Mike, I wish
Jerry,
you guys
it's
would have said
not,
something.
it's
Because
not
usually your
Wi-Fi.
mic's usually like always up.
Just for Pete, it's board docs.
Thank you for saying that. I'm like, why isn't no one like engaging?
Why have paper
It's not Wi-Fi.
What is that?
Something else, I think it's board doc.
All right, so we are
My
good for,
apologies to Peter.
so we're back on policies, okay? First reading, is that okay for Stephanie?
Yes.
Okay, go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Stephanie. Thank you.
Got paper.
Yeah, she does have paper.
So the Shoreham-Wading River Administration meets monthly to review policies in the sequence of the municipal policy manual development plan. The Board of Education Policy Committee has met and the following recommendations are being made for new and revised policies. 4526.1 and the regulation, Internet Safety and Regulation, will replace District Policy 8271. NISBA's language is clear and concise, however, changes have been made that the superintendent of schools responsible for monitoring of Internet safety. 5500 and the regulations, Student Records and Regulation, will replace District Policies 7240, 7242, 43, 7250, and 7270. NISBA's language is current and aligns with our district practice. 5550, Student Privacy, will replace Policy 7250. NISBA's language pertaining to instructional material notifications were removed as they have redundant language to other policies. 8631, Computer Control for Financial Network and District Computer Systems, is being renumbered from District Policy 5684. It has been revised to reflect language regarding dual authentication, password requirements, and removal of language pertaining to remote access and security. Policy 8635 and the exhibit, Information and Data Privacy, Security Breach and Notification, will replace District Policy 5672. It was recommended to adopt NISBA's policy, however, language from the existing district policy will be included to specify information regarding security breach and the process of sending notifications. Excuse me. Policy 5151, Homeless Children, is a new NISBA policy recommended for adoption. 5152, Admission of Non-Resident Students, will replace Policy 7132, recommended for adoption of NISBA policy, of NISBA language. However, language from the existing district policy will be included to clarify guidelines of former residents. 5200, Co-curricular and Extracurricular Programs, is a new policy recommended, and specific criteria was kept to align with district practice. 5210, Student Organizations, will replace 7410, recommended to adopt. However, guidelines from district policy, the current district policy, were kept for students who conduct meetings under the Equal Access Act. 5220, School-Sponsored Student Expression, will replace 7411, recommended for adoption as its current. 5225, Student Personal Expression, is a new NISBA policy recommended for adoption, and specifications were added to prohibited materials which promote vaping devices or cannabis. 5285, Career and Technical Education, was revised and renumbered from 8220. This policy was kept to support different pathways for students and revised to reflect our current procedure. 5300, our code of conduct, will replace district policy 3410. The current board-approved code of conduct will be a document that will serve as an attachment in board docs for this policy. 5320, student dress code for physical education, will replace 7312.1. This policy was revised from the original to plainly state how students should dress for physical education. 1600, school conduct, was renumbered from 7310 and revised. This policy was created for the community relations section of the manual to serve as a reference to the code of conduct. The following district policies are just being renumbered to align with district this is policy numbering system. 1610 is being renumbered from 3214. 1620 renumbered from 7360. 5152.1 renumbered from 7133. 5252 renumbered from 5520. 5405 renumbered from 7590. And the following district policies are recommended to be abolished for reasons being either they're not required, not applicable to district practice, redundant concept or language to other adoptable policies, or not practical to enforce. 1336, 7312, 3411, 7350, and 3210. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mahoney. May I get a motion? Megan, second Katie. Any discussion of the two?
I did have a couple of questions, but I'll just wait. This is a first read, right? So I'll just wait until everybody has it,
Excuse me.
is able to pull it up in front of them to refer back to. So, even though we all read it, it's just like, to have it there to talk about. So I'll just reserve that for next time.
Okay, Megan?
No, I don't have.
Oh,
a
I thought you
question.
said Tracy. All in favor?
Yep.
Yes, 6-0. Thank you. Okay, so next up, we have our Board of Education resolutions. There are two of them. May I take them as a block? 2324-148, 2324-149. May I get a motion? Henry, second Katie. Any discussion or questions on these two? All in favor? 6-0. Okay, so next up, as Mr. Poole described, next up are our curriculum and instruction resolutions. There are going to be two sections of them. I'd like to take the first section as a block, 2324-150 through 2324-157, which are our general TNI resolutions. May I get a motion?
Did you say 170?
150, 157, I said, excuse me. 150
57.
to 157.
Thank you.
There's a number of, there's 52 in total in two
Yeah.
different blocks. What's that?
150 through 157?
Yep.
Yep, there's 8 in that first
Just
block,
2
Mike.
pages.
Okay, Jim, first, yeah, you want to get a motion, Jim? Actually, Mike and Katie, all in favor?
Just have a
6-0.
just have a quick question.
Okay.
Not related to the resolutions, but there's a field trip on here, and I know that typically the high school senior trip goes to the county fair. They close. Are you guys reconsidering?
I know the high school's been working with the student body on it.
Alternate, I don't know if they find what the options might be.
So they're close to finalizing it.
Okay.
We'll bring
Just
that to the
curious.
board's attention at the next
It's
meeting.
a resolution we have to
You'll
approve,
have to
I'm assuming,
approve it, yeah. It'll be coming,
But something's planned to make up for that, for
right.
that fun day.
And just for everyone's knowledge, that 150 was an approval to attend an out-of-state field trip, which is specific to the music program, attending music in the parks for the Portell Middle School Quartertones and Chromatics Pro Group. So that was what we just approved. Everyone's okay with that? So we did take a vote, so that was good, Stephanie, you recorded it. Great. Okay, that's what I was wondering,
Yeah.
okay.
It-
That's what I'm repeating.
It's, you're voting on all 8, correct?
I'm voting on all of that
Yes.
block, so from
Okay.
150 to 157. Okay. All in favor? 6-0, thank you.
We just took a motion.
Okay. that's all.
Yeah.
I interrupted your vote.
That's okay, we're good. Mike wants to take a field trip. We're good. Okay, all right, so next up will be the next section, section 2, which is 2324-158 through 2324-209. which are related to student services, the RFP renewals that Mr. Poole indicated earlier. There may discussion or question? May I get a motion? Jim, second Katie, all in favor? 6-0. Okay, that carries that section. Now I've got to go through mine, hang on. We're working off paper. Big time paper. Wow. Oh, she did? Thank you. Yeah, she did. She creased it on mine too, but you know, following instructions, right?
Board docs is back up, just so you
Oh, it is?
nice.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Or
All
HR
right.
though?
I'm on HR resolutions, everyone. Yep, so next up will be HR resolutions. They're one of them, 2324-210. Any discussion or questions on this? Can I get a motion? Katie? Second. All in favor? 6-0.
Sure, hold on. Mr. Lewis, I have to apologize, not having the agenda in front of me. That last field trip on block 150 to 157 is a field trip to the All-Star, and that in fact is the replacement trip, so the senior day is going to be at the, that's right, that's
So you did
correct,
catch that? That's what I'm-
Yes.
I was wondering what Mike was talking about. I thought he was talking about the
157, yeah.
quarter tones.
It
Yeah,
says
it's what my
senior
mind was, I
does,
wasn't
so-
staring at it, but
Oh, okay,
so that
thank
is
you.
the senior trip.
Okay, good job. All right. I thought he was looking at the quarter tones field trip. It's 157. It's, yeah, it's 157 down on the list, the approval of the All-Star Senior.
It says physical education. Is that what that's considered? Is that what same thing?
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. All right, thank you for the clarification. Okay. All right, so we are on to business and operations resolutions. I think there's a few of these as well. Am I okay to take these as a block? I have 2324-212. There's,
Yes.
but there's only two of these, right? It's in 21 and 212?
215.
No, they do go to 215, yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay, sorry about that. So let me try that again. So business operation resolutions 2324-211 through 2324-215. Do I have any discussion or question? Motion? May I get a motion?
We lost without a computer.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, I do have the earmark. 80, second, Mike. All in favor?
I have a question.
Oh, now you have a
Yeah.
question.
The 215, this south entry sidewalk, is that
215.
the BBS designing that? Do they oversee the construction?
No.
No? So when this is like an in-house project, who oversees the construction and does like a final punch?
Mr. Rossini.
Was that the same as the ramp repairs?
Well, at the Cunell Field?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm actually losing track of where I was. So did we take a motion on this? We
took
did.
a motion. We need
All
to have a
in
vote.
favor?
Katie, may I-
Thank you. So now we're going for a vote, all right? Everybody ready? All in favor? 6-0. All right. Okay.
Personnel?
Stephanie, do you have any other communications?
Oh, personnel agenda.
Oh, see, this is why I'm using paper.
Wow.
It's a bad night. Right, paper. Where is that? Where is that? Oh, there it is. There's one. It's right on the bottom.
Yes.
All right, first personnel. Okay, may I get a motion for personnel, please? 80, second, Mike. Any discussion or questions on personnel? All in favor? 6-0. Thank you. I jumped to communications, so I obviously know there's no communications. Okay, great. Any other discussion from the board? Okay. May I get a motion to adjourn tonight, and with that? I did. Was there any
Well,
additional comments? What? Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Henry. May I get a second?
You're not. No, I said.
One of those nights.
I got your back, I got your back.
But I
don't
no,
know.
let me ask you this.
And then we
Jerry.
vote.
But then I do the executive session. don't I?
Wait, did we get a vote for that?
Yeah. Okay. So guys, can I get a
Okay.
motion to adjourn to a second executive session, please?
Reason.
You have to read it.
Oh, the
For
reason I
the-
have to read, okay. Its reason is personnel matter. Thank you.
First.
First is Mike, second Katie. All in favor? 6-0. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.